Hello, I'm going to show you how to paint in acrylics. A lot of people don't understand acrylics. I actually love acrylics. This is, if you're going to paint in acrylics, the first thing you must have, I think, is a stay wet palette. And what it is, it's a simple tray. You put your colours onto this tissue paper, and underneath the tissue paper is some blotting paper. And the blotting paper you just keep moist. Use it open like this, and when you finish painting you simply put the lid back on, and that will keep the moisture inside and stop the paints from drying out. Right, this demonstration is going to be a bluebell wood. Very simple, very easy to follow. The canvas, I've just prepared it with a light wash of cobalt blue with some white. What I'm going to do first is block in some colours. It's going to be light in the centre, so I'm going to start with some white, cobalt blue, plenty of white, and just dab the brush, then touch of pale olive green. So the idea is that it's light in the centre. Just move the brush out like that. A bit more blue, a bit darker. Some cadmium yellow with some white, fairly bright. Some more white blended in with that. Take that up into the blue. Some more cobalt blue with a touch of pale olive green. Like that. The idea is you just build up lots of different textures to start with. So this is just a background colour. Some more cobalt with pale olive green. A little bit darker. Right the way up to the top of the painting. Now, with a slightly darker colour, this is hooker's green with, again, some cobalt blue, so it's still a bluey green. Stipple, like that. Build up the textures, becoming slightly darker towards the edge of the painting. Some more hooker's green, touch of blue. Right, over here, stipple. The beginning of a large tree there with some ivy growing up it. Dark at the top. Dark into that corner. Pale olive green, plenty of white. Stipple like that. So still keeping it light in the centre. Some white with some cobalt blue. Dab that into the trees. Soften that a bit. Okay, so there's the background colour for the trees. For the bed of the wood, we're just blocking some colours. What I'm going to do is put the undergrowth in, and we'll leave the bluebells to the last. So the bluebells sit on top of the background colour. So start putting some dark green in there, down here in the foreground. This is with downward brush strokes. Same colour over this side. Change the colour to some burnt sienna and some raw sienna, and just start to stipple that in. That. Pale olive green. Maybe a darker colour. So this time some hooker's green with some burnt sienna. So fairly dark in there. Bring that down. Change of colour again, some yellow ochre and some pale olive green. Just fill that in there. So leaving a space for the footpath. Right, this is now drying off. So go back into that with a bluey green colour, cobalt blue, pale olive green. Just stipple some more texture into that. With a smaller brush, this is some white with some raw sienna. Bring that forward, add a little bit more colour to it as it's becoming closer to us. Just paint that in. Some burnt sienna with the raw sienna. Soften that edge just a bit. Nice and misty off into the distance in there. Right, so that's virtually the whole of the painting covered with lots of different textures. What I'm going to do next is start to paint in some of the tree trunks. I'm going to use the medium detail brush for the trees at the back of the wood. Now the colour I'm going to use is cobalt blue with some pale olive green. So just start to paint in some trees going up like this. Now, once you start to paint in some tree trunks into this complete mess, it then looks like a wood, because the eye is confused by all these different shapes and things, but once you put in some tree trunks, it reminds the eye that it is actually a wood. So very, very simple to get that effect of a wooded area just by painting in a few brush strokes like that. Some branches, another one in there. So we have this dark tree going across that light yellow in the background. Continue to do the same over this side. Darker trees there, just going right the way up out to the top of the painting. And at the back here, just add some more fairly light trees, not too strong, don't want them to be too dominant. This larger tree here, we can make that just a shade darker. Go back to the fan stippler, pick up a dark green with a touch of blue. Don't want it too strong. Push the brush into the palette, collect the colour and stipple the ivy going up the tree like that. Maybe just a hint of another small tree there with some ivy. So these trees here are darker than the trees in the background. Now with that dark colour, just darken this just a little bit by stippling in there. A little bit darker here. Blend that into the dark in the top corner. Just fill that in. And again with the fan stippler, just flick in some darks on the floor of the wood like that. And darken this foreground just a little bit. Back to the medium detail brush. Hooker's green with some burnt umber. So it's more green than brown. Just add a few more branches into that large tree in there. Make that just a bit larger. Strong branches coming up. Smaller branches coming down here. On the right hand side, some more trees going up there. Put another one next to it in there. Not too strong, but strong enough to stand out from the background. And while it's still wet, with some pale olive green and a little bit of yellow ochre mixed in with some white, just put the hint of some light on the side of that tree. Same sort of thing on the tree this side, just where the sunlight just catches part of these branches.